Welcome to the Compost Pile, a podcast where we break down gardening, homesteading, and more. Join your hosts, David Poole and Aaron Barnhill, as they pile up information and break it down so that you can be more successful in the garden. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Compost Pile, your source for all things gardening, homesteading, and more. Today, we're going to talk about another potential common myth or issue that people arise when they're out buying soil from the garden center, maybe the big box store. And me and Paul here are going to talk a little bit about fertilizer in your potting mixes or maybe your garden soils. And we see people come in and they're buying these soils and they have fertilizer in them. And they oftentimes think that it's going to be enough food in there to sustain a plant for its entire life. And this plant might grow for months, might grow for half a year, depending on what it might be in the garden and give you production. So do you or do you not need extra fertilizer is the question.
So, yeah, hey, man, that's a great question. And sometimes it's going to depend on what you plant in there. Some plants that you plant are going to be heavy nitrogen feeders or whatever.
Yeah, like tomatoes and peppers.
Yeah, they're going to suck it out.
Cucumbers, they grow really, really fast. So they're heavy feeders. And I think like you look at some of these these products out there, they're promoted. You see on the bag, it's like this feeds for 3 to 4 months. But what people don't realize is that it depends on what kind of nutrient sources in there. Some will have maybe like compost, which compost will sustain pretty well in a bag for a period of time. It's going to be less maybe susceptible to heat and moisture as much. Whereas if you buy something with maybe like a synthetic fertilizer, there's some elements that will really break that down really quickly.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of factors that play into that. How long the soil in that bag been stored, what was it subjected to? Was it undercover inside of a warehouse? Was it outside, getting rain on it, getting heat, cold, whatever?
Yeah.
Because, most places, the bags are permeable. They're allowing moisture to escape and actually come in. And so with a synthetic type fertilizer, they're water soluble, so it can wash a lot of that out of there. So, keep in mind that this is just a good starter to get you going. It's not sterile soil, but it's not a be-all, end-all.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
It's can't eat one meal and then quit for a month.
A common problem, that's a good point. It's like having a snack before dinner. That's essentially what that is, because if you rely solely on that fertilizer that comes in the bag, then the plants are going to do really good for a bit, but then once they get sizable and they're starting to feed even more heavily, there's not going to be anything left in the soil. And especially when you look at potting soil with fertilizer, potting soil ideally is going in a pot, and we water those containers more so nutrients will leach out faster, and it's going to break those synthetic prills down quickly. And I never knew this until way later in my career in doing this. We've always sold like Osmocote, and most of the time what you're getting in these bags of soil that have fertilizer is some form of a time release product.
Right.
And when those prills that are in there, if they're subjected to temperatures that are cool, then they're going to break down slower. And if they're subjected to higher temperatures, they're going to break down faster. And then if you couple that with sunlight, then the sunlight actually causes it to break down even quicker. So something simple like Osmocote 1414 says 3 to 4 months, but if you really read the label and look in there, when you're in like 90-degree temperatures with full sun, it's more like 1 month. So oftentimes I feel like these kinds of things lead people to kind of neglect their plants unintentionally. They don't provide enough resources for the life of the plant.
Yeah, it's not one thing like a pre-fertilized soil like this. All you gotta do, you plant your plant in there and you just leave it. You just can't do that, and especially in a container, in open ground or maybe a raised bed. There's lots of ways for that soil through microbial action and compost you put in there are breaking down and kind of helping to feed along without putting, a fertilizer in there. But in a container, I mean, you're gonna have to feed them. That's gonna suck the nutrients out of there a lot quicker than it would maybe in open ground where you got something else going on, breaking down, composting down, worm action, all kind of things. And you're gonna have to keep fertilizing. And a lot of times you'll be able to see that in your plant.
Yeah, you can see signs of like maybe yellowing.
Yeah.
Just slow growth or no growth. Maybe if it become nitrogen deficient, maybe the plant just looks kind of stunted and it's never getting any bigger. So there's definitely some telltale signs where you can see if that's happened to you. That could be a potential issue. Another thing that I find that becomes problematic when people only rely on that is like a lot of the fertilizers that may go into them, especially if it's like a synthetic type, it might not be the most nutrient dense option that you could be putting into your garden. Yeah, so you might be lacking in mineral content or things to feed the microbes, which are in turn vitally important. So not all these soils that have these fertilizers actually support long-term soil health and microbe life. So I think that's an interesting part of it too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly on that. And because I think when some of these soils are manufactured, they're to give you almost like an instant gratification.
Yeah.
Just to see a quick green up, some nitrogen or whatever.
You want to see some instant success.
Yeah. And so, but that's not going to last long. You still got to feed the roots and the plants themselves. And so, sometimes, something high nitrogen and get a quick green up, you're not going to produce fruit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so need a balanced fertilizer. So yeah, just get them started, and once they start growing, and then use a good balanced fertilizer. According to the type of plants you're growing and what the recommendations are on your packaging.
Yeah, I think I see more and more as things evolve over the years. A lot of the soil companies out there now are creating more heavily compost-based soils that are some of them even they're living soils, so they have active microbes in there. They've been inoculated, and most of them don't have any fertilizer in there because they're leaving it open to your practices, and so that you can go in and put something in there that is going to support your specific growing habits, your environment. And I think that is becoming increasingly important as people are saying long term they're becoming more successful by putting the nutrients in on their own instead of trying to just go the easy way.
Yeah. So I guess the motto now is feeding the soil will feed the plants instead of vice versa. Everybody's thinking we'll throw this fertilizer in there and we're feeding the plants. No, you want to if you get that soil right, your plant's going to be
plant's going to thrive.
Yeah.
So
So
I think that's a good way to wrap this up today. Just remember, plants need nutrition evenly and all the time, not just one time. So make sure you're feeding them, a good diet, keeping yourself soil conscious and thinking about not only the plant, but the life that is in your soil. And that's going to make you more successful long term.
Absolutely.
So find you some good soil out there. Take a chance to look and see what's in it, and just have a clear understanding of how things work and break down, and keep fertilizing. And we'll see you next time.